Hi, so I'm going to be looking at this video that's gone sort of semi-viral. It is from Steve Bannon's Warroom Pandemic podcast, and here he's talking to John Fredericks, as you can clearly see at the bottom of the screen. And what he's going to be talking about in this video, I'm going to use 3 clips. It is a screen capture now, or a screen record of a screen record, which is why you can see a mouse sort of right in the middle there, and you'll also see my mouse moving to the bottom to press play, so sorry about that. But the thing that really matters is he's talking about Georgia. He's touching on various different things, but it includes the election lawsuit in Georgia that's going on, that's managed to get a look at the ballots. But I'm going to use 3 clips, and we'll start the first one now.
Were there counterfeit ballots? 6 affidavits. Now, we had 4, now it's 6. 6 affidavits of veteran election officials are alleging that up to 30,000 of these 147 ballots are fake. Somebody printed them up on a machine and ran them through the vote counting machines. They're not real. They're not attached to anybody. They have 4 pieces of evidence for this. None of these are going away. None of these can be explained.
So what we've got here, there's a couple of problems with his interpretation. Number one, people think sort of affidavits have some sort of magical power, that you put them in front of the judge and the judge automatically believes what's in them. That's one thing. Another thing is affidavits aren't evidence in terms of in a court of law until you introduce them. So it's a bit like a piece of physical evidence. A piece of physical evidence is an evidence the court can consider until you put it in front of them, in front of a court. There's also something called the poll book. Now, basically, you sign the poll book, and the numbers should add up. So the number of signatures, i.e. signature confirms that you voted, the number of people signing to say that they've voted, and the number of votes should add up. So what happens is you can spot if there's a big discrepancy. So like 30,000, he says out of 147, he obviously means 147,000, but he's saying 30,000 are fake. They're not on the right sort of paper, that sort of thing. That's the sort of thing that the poll book will reveal. So if the poll book says 117,000 people voted, and you've got 147,000 votes, then you've got a problem. If that were the case, we would have heard about this 6 months ago or 5.5 months ago. So we know that's not the case.
These are the things that they're going to look at. Now, they did an analysis batch of 950 military ballots. 950. I want you to grasp what the findings are. And this is a matter of public record. Nobody made this up. Out of a batch of 950 military mail-in ballots, Joe Biden got 950 votes, Trump 0.
So we've got a few problems here. So he says a batch, an analysis batch of 950. Well, how did they get the 950? He doesn't say it's random. They randomly selected 950 ballots. So it could be that if you pick 950 ballots with Trump votes on them, or with Biden votes in this specific case, if you pick 950 ballots with Biden votes on them, you will end up with 950 ballots with Biden votes on them. So that's unremarkable. There's a few other things going on here. For example, he says this is a matter of public record. Well, where is it? So I've been on the Georgia Secretary of State website, and I've had a look, and I can't find any evidence of this. Where is this, where is this sample batch of 900? I mean, what are they doing with these ballots? I mean, just to come up with 950 like that, I don't know. He's not answered. He's not suggesting a solution or a reason for that. So he says this is a matter of public record. Well, where is it? And, you know, people who've sent me this video on Twitter, I've said, you know, where is this sample batch? Is public record? Can I see? And no one seems to have an answer for that.
Some of them were counted twice. That's the other possibility here. That he's going to demand that Governor Kemp call a special session, and they're going to start decertifying elections. Trump, Biden. Second one, U.S. Senate. Purdue likely won in the first ballot. Why is Ossoff there?
So once more, there's a whole lot. To say this clip is about 38 seconds, there's a whole lot going on here. So the judge he mentions, that is in the Fulton County case, where they've got access to images of the ballots. Ballots themselves aren't subject to public record disclosure, so they managed to get images of the ballots, which they haven't started auditing yet. The guy's name is Garland Favorito. He's very active on Twitter. He's maybe tweeting 20 times, 30, 40 times a day. And if he'd started, he'd have told the world by now. And I follow him on Twitter. So there's a lot of hypotheticals. If the judge rules that there was fraud, the two state senators, so Georgia state senators he mentions, are going to ask the governor for a special session. Well, the governor can just say no. The big one, because those are two hypotheticals, is that you can't decertify an election just like that. If you look at the Constitution, the person who becomes president is the one with the most electoral college votes. The electoral college has happened. The vote was on the 14th of December, so, you know, slightly more than 6 months ago now. So that's happened. We know the votes were counted on January the 6th and January the 7th. And that was the thing. And the inauguration has happened as well. You can't decertify. I looked at the Georgia election code on justia.com and I searched through it. There's no reference to the word decertify or decertification. It is not something, as far as I can tell, unless they've got another word for it that's they use in Georgia. It doesn't exist in Georgia law, and therefore you can't do it. You could, essentially the Senate, or the legislature I should say, could make some sort of declaration that's purely a declaration. It wouldn't have any legal effect. It wouldn't change the winner of any races. Certainly the presidency, it's the electoral college that is the thing that's legally binding. The popular vote, as we know, isn't. Trump didn't win it in 2016, you know. George Bush didn't win it in 2000. There have been other cases of people getting more votes than their opponent but not winning the presidency. That's because it's the electoral college that is the legally binding thing. So the fact check on this video is, much of it is demonstrably false, like what is said about decertifying, that, you know, that's not legally possible. Much of it is false. The majority of it is unproven. He's not providing any sources. He's talking about these state senators. He's not linking to their Twitter accounts. He's not using screenshots of their Twitter accounts in this video. Some of what he says could be true. I can't outright say that it isn't. Like these affidavits he's talking about, they may exist. That's perfectly possible. But overall, the overall rating of this video is partly false, but mostly just he hasn't even tried to justify it with evidence.